Hey all, welcome to ShareTrek. This is Raj here. Friends, many of you have been asking me about travel restriction, employment restriction for HIV positive people. Personally, I don't have any idea about all those things, and I have been just asking some of you to talk to your travel agent or something like that. And I was thinking that I've already done the heavy lifting of reading and understanding CD4 T cells and B cells and human immune system and various therapies. So how much more difficult will it be to do a little bit of research and find out this extra bit of information for you? And that's exactly what I have done today. So I have a document from a very reliable source that I'm going to use to walk you through all the restrictions and all the places where there are no restrictions for both employment as well as travel. And you'll be amazed at how much freedom is still there. And there are very few places where there are restrictions. So that said, I'm afraid that the document that I'm about to show you does not magnify big enough because for some reason they have used very small fonts. It's more of a design consideration, I suppose, for the brochure. So I'm going to be reading it for you. But if you want to see the document firsthand on your PC, you should go to our website, sharetrek.com. And if you go into the menu, you will find a HIV blog. And inside HIV blog, one of the blog articles will be this particular document. And if you want, you can also Google for this document and find it. So let's get started. Well, friends, now I have the document on the screen, and I'm going to walk you through this document. You won't be able to read it, so I'm going to read it for you. Because of that, I'm not going to be looking at you when I speak. I'm going to be looking at the document. So please bear with me for that. And towards the end, I'll summarize everything. So if you were to look at this document, it was prepared by UNAIDS UNDP in 2019. Since then, things have changed and there must be more improvements. I don't think the world is regressing, the world is progressing. So things might be better than what you see here. And it says that there are 203 countries, territories, and areas that do not have any HIV-related restrictions on entry, stay, and residence. So that's the top line item I would say here. There are just 18 countries, territories, and areas that require HIV testing or disclosure for certain types of entry, study, work, and or residency permits. And those countries are Angola, Australia, Azerbaijan, Belize, Cayman Islands, New Zealand, Cuba, Israel, Kazakhstan, Lebanon. Then we have Palau, Papua New Guinea, Paraguay, Samoa, Saint Kitts and Nevis, Tonga, Turks and Caicos, and Tuvalu. So those are the countries which have restrictions. And the other page, the next page here says that mandatory HIV testing and bans on entry, stay, and residence based on HIV status not only do not protect public health, but undermine HIV prevention and treatment efforts. So here we have 11 countries, territories, and areas that prohibit short and or long-term stay on basis of HIV status. So these are the places that you may want to avoid. Aruba, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Dominican Republic, Indonesia, Kyrgyzstan, Maldives, Marshall Islands, Mauritius, Saint Vincent and the Grenadines, Tunisia, and Ukraine. So these are all the places where they prohibit short and or long-term stay on basis of HIV status. And there are 19 countries that deport non-nationals on the basis of HIV status. These are Bahrain, Brunei, Darussalam, Cook Islands, Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Malaysia, Oman, Qatar, Russian Federation, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Solomon Islands, Sudan, Syrian Republic, Turkmenistan, UAE, and Yemen. Then we look at some key messages in this document. Restrictions on entry, stay, and residence based on HIV status are discriminatory and cannot be justified on public health grounds. Everyone should have equal freedom of movement regardless of their HIV status. This is what UNAIDS is talking about. There is no evidence that HIV-related travel restrictions protect public health. In fact, they are likely to impede efforts to protect public health by creating barriers to access to services for people living with HIV and people at higher risk of HIV. So there are 6 or 7 points like this, which is basically aimed at those countries, authorities in those countries that are currently prohibiting. And what are HIV-related travel restrictions, you may ask? And that is HIV-related travel restrictions are defined in as mandatory HIV testing for and or preventing people living with HIV from legally entering, transiting through, or studying, working, or residing in a country solely based on their HIV status. In 2019, 48 countries, territories, and areas imposed some form of HIV-related restriction. So I'm not going to read the entire brochure for you, but I read this particular paragraph because it talks about transiting through. So friends, before you make any travel arrangement, if you are HIV positive, make sure that you check that you are allowed to transit through a particular country if you are HIV positive. Because if you're not able to transit through, you may have problems when you land at that particular airport. You may probably be stuck at the no man's zone. I don't know what kind of problems might happen, but it may not be something that you look forward to. So I would suggest that you always talk to the travel agent and also check up your own country's Ministry of External Affairs or Foreign Affairs website, where they put travel advisories, and you will find the information out there. So that's important. And if you are a foreign citizen living in and working in some other country, then I would suggest that you go to your embassy and check with them about the transit agreements and what are the restriction for your particular passport when you're traveling through various countries. Because on top of that, you'll have the HIV restriction. So you can find all that from your embassy. Friends, next I have another website I want to talk to you about. This is a more dynamic website, so you'll get more up-to-date information. But as a person who has traveled a lot, let me tell you this. Regardless of whatever you find on the website, always make it a point to check up with the embassy official or consulate official before you make travel arrangements, because those things can change and it may not get updated immediately on any website, because these are all efforts by third parties and they may not know that some change has happened as soon as it does. So it's best to talk to the consular official or embassy of the country that you're planning to travel to make sure that there are no changes in their policies. Now let's look at this particular website. This website is called hivtravel.org. You can also check it out, hivtravel.org, all one word. HIV travel is one word, .org. That's the website. And the good thing about this particular website is that it has a drop down where you can select. Let us say I select Afghanistan. Then it tells me the entry regulations, residence regulation, and additional information. So it says entry regulations, no restriction for people with HIV/AIDS. HIV specific entry and residence regulation for Afghanistan. Currently, there is nothing. The US Department of State is unaware of any HIV and AIDS entry restrictions for visitors to or foreign residents of Afghanistan. And so there is a lot of information, global criminalization of HIV transmission scan, etc., etc. Now, let me look at another country. For example, let's look at Australia. So it says there are no entry restriction for tourists based on HIV. Residence regulation, HIV testing for permanent visa applicants over the age of 15 is required. And additional information, a residency permit will only be granted to HIV positive people who meet the criteria listed below. Visa applications, if HIV positive status is declared, applicant is subject to health requirement assessment. And it has given the regulations update here, HIV specific entry residence regulation for Australia. So there are a lot of special information that you can get from this particular website. It is hivtravel.org. I would encourage you to have a look at this website because this gives you more information. And before I conclude, I would like to show you one more link out here. In this database, it says categories of restriction. So you don't have to wade through everything. The categories have got links: countries without restriction, countries with entry bar, countries with short-term restrictions, countries with long-term restrictions, countries with unclear laws or practices or more information needed, countries without information, countries deporting people with HIV. So if I was to just click one of these, right, it will go back into the same list out here. So these are the countries which are the ones which have regulation on entry, stay, and residence for people living with HIV. PLHIV is for people living with HIV. So out of this, you can select one of the countries in this list, because these are the ones that have the restrictions. And let us say we select Algeria. So it will give you the details. So there are a few of those kind of links out here, which I suspect gives you a much more refined. Let us say we are looking at countries with entry bar. So there is a limited number of countries with entry bar. So it restricts the results that come from the database. So it saves you time and it's easier for you to have a look at it. There's another tab called travel tips. This is especially for the HIV positive people, general information for HIV positive travelers, tourist and PrEP users. So this is another resource that you can read. And there's a tab called resources, which gives you the report UNAIDS Global Task Team Resources. This is the report that I showed you. A quick reference to restrictions produced by Deutsche AIDS High Life EV. And then there's a few more out here that you can see. Some of these reports might be useful for you. Case studies on HIV-specific restrictions, research and resources on HIV-specific restrictions. So if ever you decide to travel and you're apprehensive, these are the resources that I think you should refer to. And regardless of however clear the resource is, once you find the information, just call up the consulate or the embassy of the country you're trying to visit, confirm with them that the information that you have is the latest and there's been no change. And once you do that, I think you're golden. You can go and complete your travels and your objectives. So that's all from me in this short video. Yeah, I'll catch up with you in the next video. Bye for now. Hey there. Thanks for watching our videos and visiting our channel. If you like these kind of contents and you're already a subscriber, why not take it to the next level? Press the join button at the bottom of the screen and become a member of ShareTrek. That will help you to support ShareTrek monetarily and help us continue bringing more programs and get better and better guests as we grow as a channel. Your support is very much appreciated. Press the join button today and become a member.